Hey guys, welcome to another episode where we talk about all things cigars. Today I am particularly excited. I'm excited because I have a brand new humidor. Finally came in. Absolutely. This thing is gorgeous, okay? Now, I've been using a smaller glass top humidor. Holds about 50 cigars, okay? It's not bad, but I've been pushing it. I've been really maxing it out, okay? I need more capacity. So I picked up a new humidor that holds about 100 cigars. And I think for right now, that'll be okay until I need to upgrade again, okay? But I can't just transfer all my cigars in there now. If I do that, I run the risk of ruining them. And I don't want to do that because I have some expensive cigars in there, all right? So I'm going to show you today how to season and prepare that humidor so you can put your cigars in there. Or if you're just starting out and this is your first humidor, how to season it quickly so that way you can start getting cigars and filling it up, okay? So let's get started. All right, guys, well, let's take a look and see what this humidor has inside. So the first thing that we notice here is we have a cedar tray and the humidor is lined with cedar. And that's very important. This is actually Spanish cedar. And the reason why Spanish cedar is utilized is because it helps absorb moisture, okay? You know, I'm going to show you an easier way to season the humidor. I know there's videos and there's people out there and they say, hey, wipe it down with a sponge and all this other stuff. I don't recommend that, especially if this is your first humidor, because oftentimes we think more is more. And we get over, zealous with adding the water. So, the sponge that we use, we really wipe it down and it ends up damaging the cedar because it's too moist, okay? So if you're gonna do that, it's gonna be damp. But skip that, don't worry about that. I'm gonna show you an easier way where you don't have to worry about that and you don't have to worry about damaging the cedar, okay? Now, let's remove this tray. Now, this tray also comes with a divider. All right, so this divider could be moved around so you can adjust it for the sizes of cigars that you have, or if you want to separate certain kinds from one another. Okay, inside we have your humidifier, a digital hygrometer, and then another divider that's utilized for the bottom shelf, okay? Now let's talk about the humidifier. Okay, this is what you're going to soak with either distilled water or propylene glycol, okay? You're going to fill this up. It's going to maintain the humidity, and then this mounts right up here, okay? And then from here, what it'll do is release the humidity, and it keeps your cigars nice and fresh, all right? Now, the reason why we want to use distilled water and not tap water, well water, or any of that stuff is because even filtered water, there still could be some bacteria or mold that's in it. Once it settles in here, it'll actually become a breeding ground for that stuff. And you don't want that bacteria on your cigars because it'll just ruin it as well as the mold, okay? Now, propylene glycol, we talked about that. What is that? And that's this solution right here, okay? Or also known as humidifier solution. You might see that I got this on Amazon. Now, the reason why you want to use something like that is because that fluid, you're going to put it in the humidifier. It will actually, when it releases the humidity, it will maintain a 70% humidity, which is pretty nice. Because if you just use distilled water, it might release more or less depending on how wet it is and so forth. So the solution is actually pretty cool because it helps you keep that 70%. Now, this is another humidifier that's out there. Now, it has beads inside that you can see. Now, these beads are actually propylene glycol. And what you'll do is you'll fill this up with distilled water. The bead should expand, fill up this, this container. Now, I got this on Amazon. I'm going to tell you, I don't think there's enough beads in here, but we're going to try it and see what happens, okay? Now, what I plan on doing is after the humidor is actually seasoned is either putting one of these in here, okay? Or most likely do one of these, okay? Now, so actually, let me finish with this. So this here, once you fill it with distilled water, because it's propylene glycol, it's going to release at the 70% humidity, and you're going to be all set with that. Okay, so it's a little bit easier. And then once the beads dehydrate and they get back to, you know, to this state, you just fill it up again, and then you just keep using it. And this lasts about a year. Okay, now the next one. Now these are pretty cool. This is the Boveda humidity packs. Okay. Now this one here, this is a larger one because it's for a humidifier this size, about 100 cigars. This says it's going to maintain the humidity level at 72. Now it's a little bit higher than what I typically like. I like the 70. I'm going to try this and see if it actually keeps it at the 72. But I want to make sure it doesn't go higher than that. Really, anytime you start pushing 75 or more, it's bad. It becomes a breeding ground for mold and bacteria for the cigars, and you don't want that. So I was hoping it had a 69% humidity. I didn't find one. I got this one. I'm going to try this and see how it works and go from there. And it's pretty easy. All you do is take it out of this wrapper, and it's done. You just mount it. I'll mount it to the top here. I'll use a double-sided tape, and it'll just keep the humidifier at 72% humidity. Okay. These are smaller packs. So this, I'm actually going to use this in my glass top one. You know, the smaller packs are for, like, you know, if you have 25 or less cigars and so forth. So I picked up a 4-pack. The cool thing about it is that it's literally set it and forget it. You put the pack in the humidor, you're all set. Okay. Essentially, I can take these 4 packs and just kind of line it around here, just, you know, stand it up and be all set. They'll last about maybe 6 months, and then you're just going to replace them again. So it's these are the easiest way to maintain the humidity level. Okay. But you still want to season the humidor. So let's get into how to season it. Okay, so this is what we're going to need to season your humidor. Okay, we're going to need a plastic bag, all right, a baggie. We're going to need a clean sponge. Do not use a sponge that you were using to wash the dishes. This is a brand new clean sponge. Okay, so you want a clean sponge, and then you want a little bucket, okay, where you're going to put water in. All right. So this is what we're going to do. It's pretty simple. We're going to take the humidifier, right? And we're going to put it in here. That's it. Then we're going to take the distilled water, and we're just going to soak it. We're going to pour it in. Okay? And we're going to cover it up. We're going to soak it. We're going to cover up the humidifier and let it soak in probably for like a good 5 minutes. Okay. Now, you see, I'm using a lot of water. Okay, because this thing is dry, so it's gonna soak up a lot of water. Okay, so I want it to absorb as much water as possible, but we're not gonna put it in the humidor soaking wet. We're gonna let it drip down a little bit, and then get it to where it's just moist, and then we're gonna go from there. Okay. Okay, guys, so it's been about 5 minutes. So now we're just going to remove this, take this out, get rid of all this excess water. What we don't want is we don't want the humidifier dripping onto the bottom of the humidor, okay, because it'll stain it, and it actually can warp the cedar, and you don't want that. Once it warps, it really doesn't, the humidor doesn't perform the way it's supposed to, and it just reduces the life of your humidor. Okay, so we're going to shake this out, and I'm going to leave it here on a paper towel upside down. Okay, just like that. All right, because I want that excess water to drip out. I want it to be moist, but I don't want it to be saturated. Okay, now we're going to take the sponge. Okay, and the sponge, we are just going to soak it. That's it. Now what you're saying, you say, Louis, you said we weren't going to be wiping down the humidor. Yeah, you're right. We're not going to wipe down the humidor. I'm going to share what we're going to do with this sponge. Okay, so we're going to soak it up. It's brand new sponge. Make sure it gets all the juice and everything that we need. And then this is what we're going to do. We're going to take this little plastic bag and we're going to put it here in the middle. All right, inside the humidor. Just going to place it right there. All right. And then we're going to take this and then we're going to squeeze it out. Okay. We want to keep it wet. What we don't want is for it to be fully saturated, like dripping, okay? So it's moist. You can see it's good, but it's not fully saturated. We'll get these last little bits of water out. Do that. We don't want that water all over the humidor. Okay. Okay. And we're just going to lay the sponge on the plastic. That's it. We're going to lay it there. Okay. And then with the humidifier, once it's, we're going to dry it up, we're going to take it, we're going to mount it where it needs to mount. And that's it. We're going to leave it for 3 days. Okay. We're going to come back, check it, check it every day, but typically within 3 days, we should see that the humidity level should be about 80%. Okay. And at that point, we know that it's working. I am going to keep my digital hygrometer in there as well. And we're going to see what it looks like after 3 days. Okay. So let me finish here. I'm going to mount this, and then I'm going to work on those little crystals that I mentioned before. Okay, guys. So I have here my humidifier with the propylene glycol crystals. We're going to add some distilled water to it and see if it absorbs. Now, you don't want to use the propylene glycol solution with this. You don't want to use this stuff, okay? Because it's the same thing. You don't want to do that. I could have used this on on my other humidifier, okay? The black thing that was inside. I could have utilized this piece, but I wanted to go with the distilled water. When it needs a recharge, I will recharge it with this. If for some reason I end up not using the Boveda pack, if the humidity level is too much, then that will be my how I would work around that. Okay. So we're just gonna fill this up. I got a paper towel going on here. Okay, so it's filled up, so you can see it's pretty much right. It's there. And let's see if the crystals, they're starting to absorb, but it needs to absorb a whole lot. So let's see if it actually does it. I personally think I got ripped off because I have one of these on my other humidor and it had a lot more crystals inside. So let's see what happens. Okay, guys, so I want to go over the hygrometer with you. Okay, this is a digital hygrometer. Now, what does a hygrometer do? Well, on the left-hand side, it tells you the percentage of humidity. On the right-hand side, it tells you what's the temperature inside the humidor, okay? Which is important because if it's too hot, you got to let it breathe because if not, you're going to start developing moisture and you're actually, the cigars will start to rot. So you don't want to be over 75 degrees inside the humidor either, okay? So storage is very important as far as where you put the humidor. You don't want it in direct sunlight. You want to keep it in a nice, cool, dry place, okay? Now, this is an analog hygrometer, okay? Analog meaning it's not digital. And the way it works is that inside the humidor in the back, there's these holes. And it will actually pick up the humidity levels, and you'll see that the needle will start going. Now, this one needs to be calibrated, all right? It's saying it's about 50%, and my digital is saying 37%, okay? Now, if you have a digital hygrometer, honestly, it's already pre-calibrated from the factory. You don't need to do anything else. If you have an analog, you will most likely have to calibrate it, and we'll get into what that is, all right? But for right now, we're just gonna season the humidor. We're gonna use the digital one, and we'll get into calibration a little bit later. That's done. So now some of you may be asking, and you're saying, Louis, you have the Boveda 72% humidifier. Why don't you just put this in the humidor and just let it cycle through? Yeah, you could do that. Now, the reason why I chose not to do that is because the humidor is very, very dry right now, okay? Very dry. So it's gonna absorb moisture like crazy. So I can put the pack in there, but what's gonna happen is it's gonna reduce the lifespan of the pack because it's really gonna pull that humidity. So I prefer use the distilled water, let it go, let it go, let it season for a few days, let it get to that 80% humidity. Then at that point, transition to the Boveda pack and watch it, make sure it goes back down to 72 or 70. We'll see, because it does say 72, but it all depends on the humidor, right? If you have enough cigars in there too, and how it's actually behaving and how I store it. Right now I'm in New England, so it's heat season. So a lot of the rooms are going to be hot. It's going to be about 70 degrees and so forth. So, that's going to fluctuate the humidity levels within the humidor. So I have to monitor that. So I prefer to use the distilled water first, get the humidor where it needs to be, and then go with something like this or these beads, okay, or something like this. Yeah, guys, so it looks like I definitely got ripped off on these. It's been about 10 minutes and it's still there. So I knew that, but that's all right. I would, if you're thinking about utilizing these, get these probably at your local tobacco store. I was in a hurry and I have Prime, so I wanted it like next day. I didn't have a chance to go down there, and that's what I got. So, you can pick up one of these or the Boveda packs. They're very, very easy to use. And the good thing about the packs is that if it touches the cigars, it's not a problem. It's really good. It's just a little bit more expensive to maintain the humidity. Now, real quickly. So we noticed this humidor comes with the humidifier that mounts to the top. Now, some problems that you might have with that is that if you use the tray, cigars here may be a little bit softer because they're closer to the humidifier, okay? And where the cigars on the bottom typically, aren't as soft. So what you could do is just mount your humidifier underneath the tray. Just mount it right in that space there, and then you're all set. You can close it. It'll actually help, it'll circulate as well. I got the hygrometer in there already, so it's mounted there. We're gonna let it go. So we're gonna let this season for a couple of days. We'll check back. I'll give you a status update, and we'll go from there. And if you found this video helpful, hit the subscribe button so that way you can be alerted of new cigar reviews, tips, and tricks that will make your cigar experience more enjoyable. All right, guys, until next time.